Minecraft seems like a simple game on the surface, which is why it's so surprising that there are so many intricacies which are buried just a layer below that, and some of these are useful for the average survival player, and some of these just make you scratch your head and go, huh, I guess they really put that in there, and I enjoy both of these types, which is why I figured I'd share 45 of them you probably didn't know, and if you want to subscribe, that would be very appreciated, helps out the channel a lot, and lets me know you do like very long form videos that are harder to put together, but not as hard as hardcore mode, you might think. Hardcore has gotten a lot more popular recently, alongside the hard difficulty on which it is based, and you might not know that it's not just extra damage that you get on hard mode, but there's a ton of extra changes, one of which is zombies being able to break down wooden doors. This means that if there's even a chance you're going to be playing on hard, you should always build a wall around your village to to protect your villagers from zombies and pillagers, because they will make short work of your village otherwise. Also, you might not have known that mobs killed by tamed dogs actually drop experience. This means that your giant dog collection is actually just an inactive experience farm. And if you have a ton of dogs in the real world, then you need to put them to better use, because if they're not giving you real world experience, then something's gone horribly wrong. Just like how something might go horribly wrong and you might be really far from a water source, and if this is the case, one of the ways you can get water is by having a cauldron fill up with rain. This can actually happen, and it is a lifesaver if, let's say, you're playing on a flat world survival, but it probably wasn't made with flat worlds in mind. It probably was just made as a fun flavor feature, because I mean, if you're playing Minecraft and you want natural water, none of that seawater, you want the good stuff that comes from the clouds, you can use your cauldron to get precisely that. Then what you can do is you can waterlog rails if you want to make a secret underwater track. This is actually a Bedrock exclusive thing, because if you're not familiar, there are two editions of Minecraft, the one which has regular sized salmon and the one which has big salmon, and big salmon Minecraft is not just interesting for having these chunky mobs, but these chunky mobs are actually big boned, as we can confirm when we kill them, and they have a higher drop rate off bones. Or if you're playing Java, it would be bone meal, but there's no big salmon in your edition anyway. But something you can do on both platforms is put a saddle on a strider and then entice it with a warped fungus on a stick, as this will allow you to travel on lava. This was officially put out as a kind of replacement for having nether boats, but it can be used in the overworld too. If you have a big body of water, you can cross it using one of these adorable little guys. You can actually go to the Nether as a place to take your sponges and dry them out. Because you can mine sponges quite quickly with hoes, this is not just a useful way to dry out your sponges, but it's also another thematic thing that makes perfect sense in real life, because I've been living in Las Vegas where the temperature is 45, 46 degrees right now. I'll put that in fake degrees for those of you living in the past, but I actually bet that a sponge would dry super quickly in this weather, and so let's test that right now. So I'm at a real-life ocean monument, also known as the sink, and oh no, my sponge has gotten wet. And so this is a really wet sponge. You can't just dry this by leaving it, in the sun for too long, right? Except you can over here, I bet. Oh god, I have made a mistake. Okay, this is my balcony. I'm gonna leave the sponge here for a few minutes, and I'm gonna come back, and this very drenched sponge, I'm gonna show you what it looks like in just a few minutes. Okay, I think we're meant to be talking about Minecraft in this video, so did you know that dripstone is one of Minecraft's most useful blocks? It looks like it's just spiky and it does hurt to stand on, but you can actually use it to make infinite lava, or you can use it to make infinite mud, or you can even use it as a stacking up tool, like I've done quite a few times, famously in my ancient city, and you can use this as a big tower, which can be destroyed with just a single block placement. It's super useful in that regard. It's basically scaffolding, just with more points, and I really like it for that reason. But I also really like that if you drop your best sword, let's say an enchanted, sharpness 5 sword near a fox, that fox is now going to be able to pick up your sword, and one of the weird quirks of Minecraft is every mob can use swords when they're available to them, including foxes, which means that if a fox attacks you, it can attack you with an efficiency 5 sword. It still looks like a normal fox attack, but this is useful not only for, I don't know, just the fun of being attacked by a fox, but also you could use this against other players if they attacked you, or you could have it eventually attack zombies, etc. Maybe, just maybe. Speaking of things that might happen, witches have a small chance of throwing a splash potion of regeneration or instant health during a raid. If you act quick enough after seeing this, you can actually get in there and enjoy these effects, although you're probably just going to get poisoned. Let's be real. But if you want to get poisoned, a witch is a faster way to do that than a poisonous potato. Probably. Speaking of poisonous potatoes, the only thing better than this wonderful item is the fact that the new ore distribution in 1.18 means that all of the advice you've probably heard if you've watched one of these videos in any year that wasn't 2022 is that you no longer have to do this long branch mining technique underground at Y13 or whatever you've heard to find diamonds. No, instead, diamonds are so common below Y0 now that if you find a cave that is deep in the deep slate realm, if you find one that's this size, it might be better, you can just explore one of these caves and you'll probably find some diamonds in there, and I think this is really great. Taking a boring mechanic and making it all about exploration and adventure, that is a really great change that Minecraft's had. Just like how I really like the change they made to shulkers, they are now renewable. If a shulker hits another shulker with one of its projectiles, they will reproduce. This is a strange method of reproduction, but if there's anything I've learned from my time in America, it's that people love to shoot each other, and it's one of the things that makes you want to reproduce the most. I mean, can I say that? I probably can't say that. You know, let's go check on the sponge. That's probably a better idea. Okay, I genuinely don't know how this is going to go, so I'm looking outside. All the water around the sponge is gone. The sponge looks pretty dry. It's got some moisture in there, though. Yeah, if you look, you could squeeze some more out. You know, this doesn't work at all, like advertised. I do say, though, when you get out of the pool and it's hot enough, your hair instantly dries and your towel is instantly dry, but this is not the same as that. I guess Minecraft is not a perfectly realistic game, which is why maybe, even though in the real world there is a finite supply of fuel to a campfire, in Minecraft, campfires are fueled infinitely from the one piece of charcoal. This is in stark contrast to using it in a furnace where you get 8 smelts. You can actually cook as much food as you want with a single campfire. This makes it one of the most effective tools if you're making an auto farm because you don't need to worry about fuel, and it also makes it very useful for the early game when you just need to cook food and you don't want to worry about mining. So I really like the campfire. I think it's underrated. People see it as just a cool block of smoke coming out of it, but it is also a very useful tool. Just like how it's useful to use lightning rods to keep lightning away from your flammable builds. Wool is flammable. A lot of people don't realize this until something bad happens, and you might also not realize that tinted glass is a thing, but it's very useful because it allows you to see into, say, a mob spawner without light levels being affected. This is a fun reminder that the light level you can see as a player and the light level in the game are not always perfectly the same. And yeah, one of the greatest examples is tinted glass, which lets you see into 0 light areas, but also mobs can spawn at light level 0 only, but you still will be able to see them if there are glow squids nearby or if they have glow item frames, because both of these items put off a glow that does not stop mobs from spawning. So if you want to make a place super visible, cover the floor in glow item frames. What could go wrong with that? Speaking of things that can't go wrong, compasses can be used with lodestones to point to a particular destination. This is definitely worth doing, in my opinion, because it allows you to point people to a particular part of your Minecraft world without necessarily having to show them directly or just saying, oh, it's at these coordinates, which obviously those coordinates are only useful for Bedrock. On Java especially, just being able to give people a compass and having it point them there is much more useful than the default compass use of just it points to the spawn, because the spawn area isn't that useful and people probably already know where it is, but they might not know where your amazing mega build is. Obviously the lodestone is a really expensive recipe. I don't want to use netherite all the time, but you might not know that you can find lodestones by default in your nether if you go searching in the right structure. So maybe give that a try, just like how you should also try using some warped fungus around some hoglins. That's right, these giant fellas are scared of warped fungi, and so just like my doctor always says, a single piece of warped fungi a day keeps the giant hoglin at bay. And so the next important fact, while you're in the nether anyway, is that glowstone, which has traditionally been one of the best light sources in Minecraft. There's a lot of things that tie it nowadays, but glowstone is found in the Nether naturally speaking, but if you want to get renewable sources of glowstone, they're all only found in the overworld. That's right, the only way to get infinite amounts of glowstone is via the journeyman level cleric villagers, a wandering trader, or you can technically farm witches to get glowstone dust. I think this is a much worse deal than just buying the glowstone for 4 emeralds from a cleric or for 2 emeralds from a wandering trader, but still, you can get an infinite amount of glowstone as long as you're not in the Nether, which is counterintuitive, but you know what? Have you heard of Minecraft? It's quite a counterintuitive game. Just like how you might find it counterintuitive that buried treasure is always found in the same place within the chunk that it's in. So a chunk is a 16 by 16 area, and within that 16 by 16 area where the X is, you'll always find the chest in coordinate 9 of the chunk, that's from 0 to 15, on both the X and the Z axis, and it will always face east while on Java Edition, while on Bedrock Edition it is always found on chunk coordinate 8 on both coordinates. Why is this the case? Because, you know what, buried treasure isn't very inventive as to where it places, but you can use this to your advantage because those X's are super imprecise, and yeah, it's slightly different between platforms. Why is it slightly different between platforms? I mean, why is it that both Java and Bedrock have the exact same seeds, but they're slightly different because these structures will never spawn in the same place, and this includes trees, meaning you have exactly the same seed that just feel very slightly different and very slightly off, as I discussed in my recent speedrunning video. Wow, should you go check that out? Am I promoting my own videos inside my own videos? Yeah, I guess I'm doing that now. Just like how I'm also going to tell you that on the Bedrock Edition, there are 64-bit seeds, as of 1.18.20 at least, which means that now there are officially seeds which didn't exist before, just a few short months ago, that now officially have a lit end portal near spawn. You can watch one of my videos if you want to learn more about these seeds, but I think the more interesting question here is, do you think it's cheating to use a particular seed that allows you to bypass the entire Nether, the entire finding a stronghold, the entire getting the tools to light it, and just go straight to the Ender Dragon portion of the game? I mean, it is something that can happen naturally, and this seed just allows you to bypass that chance and turn it into a certainty, but do you think that's cheating? Do you think that's too much? Do you think that's really a survival tip, or is that more of a, kind of a blurred line? Just like how you might find it to be a blurred line when I advertise my merch in the middle of a video. Did you know you can go to ibxtoycat.store and you can get yourself not only a great IBX Toycat t-shirt, but also you can get a mug that is beautiful like this. It's got a heart shape and it reminds you that someday we'll all die. Just like how you might want to be reminded that Guardians will deal Thorns-like damage to you, which will go through your armor in Minecraft. Both the Guardians and the Elder Guardians deal a form of damage which isn't blocked fully by armor, and so if you want to attack them, maybe bring some axolotls with you. Just like how you might enjoy bringing some leather boots with you when you go to a mountain, because leather boots will stop you from falling through powdered snow. This means that the optimum boot choice will determine on your situation. Obviously, using netherite armor might seem like the best decision all of the time, but sometimes you might want to wear gold to prevent piglins, and sometimes you might want enchanted leather boots just so you can climb mountains without falling through the snow and potentially freezing to death. Wow, that is a useful one. Also, you might want to wear chain boots just to flex on people and show off your weird, not craftable armor, just like how you also might want to enjoy a single piece of gold armor anywhere on your body because it stops piglins being hostile towards you without you aggravating them. This is not true for the piglin brute, which, I mean, let's just say that's a lesson we've learned the hard way, and let's also say that piglin brutes are one of the few non-renewable mobs in Minecraft. Alongside the Elder Guardian I mentioned earlier, the number of piglin brutes that will spawn into a world is fixed, and you can either kill them or you cannot, but they will never respawn. There is no way to get them again besides their spawn in their respective structure. I think this is a really weird mechanic that I'm glad Minecraft isn't playing too much more with. I mean, the Ancient City mob can be found time and time again, but it's still incredibly odd in my opinion. Next up here, by the way, actually, if you want to help out, this is a long video and I'm testing some mic stuff, so let me know in the comments down below if you could hear the air conditioning which just turned on, just like how you can also, I mean, it's 46 degrees outside. I need the air conditioning or I'm gonna die. Just like how I would die if I went to a wither rose. Wow, these flowers sure do hurt, and they're actually obtained by having a wither kill another mob. This is a weird survival fact that you almost certainly don't need to know most of the time, but it is a valuable source of black dye, and let's be honest, it's just a cool way to get a unique item, just like how it's a unique way to damage your friends. Sure, it only does half a heart of damage, but it actually is not phased by armor, and so the Wither Rose damage, alongside the Guardian, alongside Thorns, and any other magical sources, including potions, will go straight through armor. This means that if you see someone who has really maxed out Netherite gear, and they think they're untouchable, and you have nothing, and they're like just toying around with you, bring just a few splash potions of harming, and then see how they like that. The answer is they're probably not going to like that, and yeah, you can set them on fire too, but there's fire resistance, but there's no splash potion of damage resistance, as your friend will soon find. Also, you might find out if you find a friend in the Nether, because let's be honest, I mention all these things with friends in Minecraft, but I you know, it's not like I have friends I'm playing Minecraft with, or that I have friends I'm doing anything with. But the point of Minecraft to me is that it is this game you can play solo in a wonderful way, and so why not make friends with these lovely pig fellas? I mean, if you're wearing gold armor, they don't even get bothered by you, but they do really like it when you give them gold, and they've got a chance of yielding ender pearls. This means that you can get ender pearls without all the hassle of killing endermen, which means if you like to teleport around your world, or you like to do basically anything, all you need is a bit of gold and one of these lovely pig fellows who love to trade in a way that makes no sense. I mean, you don't go to the store, give them $5, and then they take 4 seconds and give you a random item. Although I've been saying forever that's a good idea for a fast food restaurant, just like how you might be thinking to yourself right now, where am I going to get all the gold from? You know, I don't have all the dollars in the world, because I just spent it on Toycat merch at ibxtoycat.store, but you might be thinking to yourself, like, where am I going to get gold from? And the great thing about the Nether and the bastions where these piglins are found is they contain a huge number of gold blocks, which you can then immediately craft into gold ingots and then trade those with your piglins. So you can convert one of these bastion structures directly into ender pearls and maybe even a netherite hoe should you really want to. However, you don't have to be a netherite hoe to appreciate soul speed, because soul speed is an enchantment which is found naturally in the Nether and can be used to make super fast highways. The one downside is it damages your boots on a continuous basis, so you need to have mending and you need to be regularly consuming experience, but one of the things that people don't really take advantage of is super soul speed highways, and you know what? I think that's disappointing. Just like how I think it's disappointing that very few players use the cake as a source of food, because although the cake is very low on saturation and a single bite only gives you 1 hunger, so why would you use it? The truth is the cake is the quickest way to eat. This is the eating animation for, let's just say, a single pork chop, and this is the eating animation for a cake. It's instant, it's done. You can eat a whole 3 cakes in a time, or 10 cakes, so you can eat as many cakes as you need to in this time if you so want, because the cake is the quickest way to eat by such a wide margin. And so if you're in a PvP situation where you're running away from someone, having a cake to quickly have a munch at is actually a very good idea, just like how it's a good idea to use a hoe in the Nether, because there are all sorts of blocks in there that are specifically designed to be broken with the hoe. The Nether warp blocks, the warped and warp block, the shroom lights, and leaves alongside hay, and a whole host of other blocks are mined quicker with the hoe, so get yourself an enchanted netherite hoe. Just don't expect the hoe to hold the loyalty enchantment. You know what you also shouldn't expect? Using flame, flint and steel, or any form of fire really, to kill an animal in a peaceful way. No, the animal runs around on fire screaming for its life. However, it's a really good idea despite the animal cruelty concerns, because it gives you cooked food in Minecraft. This is one of those things where actually I was doing this in Minecraft and I realized, oh, lighting animals on fire is a great way to get food, and so that's actually what I do in the real world too, because I think that Minecraft is a one-to-one representation of the real world, which is why a potion, this is how you drink medicine in the real world. The best way to take a splash potion is to throw it directly up in the sky, move your cursor as high up as you can, and so it will land directly on your head to give you 100% of the time advertised. Some players throw these on the ground, and that's a big mistake. No. You want to throw it directly on your head. Whenever I have like eye drops I need to put on, I just throw some in the sky, open my eyes up wide, and this is a real idea. Speaking of real ideas, lingering potions can be made with dragon's breath, which is one of those items that is very unintuitive if you don't already know about it. So the way you get this is you get an empty bottle into the end, and you use the end acid that the dragon is firing. This is annoying if you've forgotten about it and you've already killed the ender dragon, because you're going to need to respawn her, and if you built your whole end around the idea that the dragon can't respawn, then you get a lot of glass damage. It's a whole problem. Just speaking of problems, by the way, I have to mention, even though the chat on my live streams is always telling me to use a beacon, and I'm always saying no and deliberately giving myself mining fatigue just to show them who's boss, the truth is that a haste 2 beacon combined with efficiency 5 on a diamond or netherite pickaxe can instant mine stone, which makes removing land very quick. The difference between instant mining and just a tiny bit below that is so vast, and so whenever you're mining any basic material, you should always try to have a beacon nearby so you can get that instant mine done, which is defined as mining in less than 0.05 seconds, which means there's no delay before mining the next block, which means you can do some silly fast stuff. This might look like it's a time lapse, but this is the real speed that this is happening at, just like how you might not believe that partial blocks will stop mobs from spawning. This includes carpet, by the way, but it also includes pathway blocks, it includes string, and it includes anything that is trapdoors, slabs. Any partial Minecraft block stops mobs from spawning, which is particularly important given the prevalence of slimes right now. Why haven't we fixed this? Why is there no emergency update to make the slimes go away? I don't know why that's not true. I also don't know why it's not true that you can't take mycelium from the Mushroom Island and place it somewhere else to stop mob spawning with that. The thing that stops mobs from spawning, outside of the Deep Dark where it's the biome itself, is the Mushroom Island biome. This means you can actually flatten a Mushroom Island, you can destroy the whole thing, build your own thing on top, and no mobs will spawn. This makes it a perfect place for a base, or just a perfect place to confuse people, if we're being honest. And speaking of perfect things to confuse people, one of the big differences between people who play on the PC using a keyboard and mouse and people who play on any other platform is that crouch is actually toggled on those other platforms, whereas on the PC and keyboard is actually held down if you want to crouch. This makes for very different gameplay in some subtle ways, but one of the biggest ones is the fact that it means that being underwater and crouched can keep you trapped under there, and it also means that there's no way you can accidentally let go of the shift key and fall down into the oblivion beneath your big bridge that you're building. So this is really interesting because it is a platform difference by default, but on either platform you can turn it into either a toggle or you can turn it into a shift between one and the other. This is really cool in my opinion, because it means that if you really like the idea of being perfectly safe, you make your shift a toggle, like a toggle crouch on, and if you really want to play on console but you don't like that things are slightly different, you can just make it so holding down one of the buttons is crouch, and this allows for much more fluid turning on and off crouch, which is great for the weird staircasing things you see people doing, just like how you might see people using amethysts. I mean, these are pretty blocks and they come from the amethyst crystals, which come from a few blocks which only spawn naturally, called the budding amethysts. So you'll see people destroy all the blocks around these, using these as naturally growing blocks. However, like spawner cages, end portal frames, and reinforced deep slate, none of these blocks can be moved in any way without breaking them and stopping them from functioning. They are stuck in place where they spawn in your world, and it's a very strange fact. Just like how it's a strange fact that iron golems cannot attack you if you are 3 blocks above the ground, but you can still attack them. This is also true for Enderman, and it's a trick that I've been finding useful recently for the warped forest. You stack up 3 blocks, and now Enderman can't attack you, so getting those ender pearls doesn't actually involve gold whatsoever. And so that is the most useful of the 45 things you didn't know about Minecraft. This is a style of video that takes a lot of work from a lot of people, to put together, and so thank you, Samuel, to editing and doing the amazing visuals you've been seeing the entire time, and thank you to all of you for watching this video. I hope that you think it deserves a subscription, because I'd love to see you in some future videos I make, because I'm really passionate about Minecraft survival. It seems as though you've made it this far in the video, so I hope you are too, and I hope that you choose to stick around for the journey. But either way, I'll see ya in the next one. Goodbye.